Hi, everyone. Good evening. I just got in from my daily little walk because my gym is closed. So I wanted to follow up on the video that I made yesterday about, initially talking to special needs people or their parents about diagnoses or conditions and just, proper etiquette when approaching them. In addition to not saying what is wrong with you or what is wrong with him or her, I would also suggest that you veer away from the whole, oh my goodness, I couldn't do it. I don't see how you do it. Or, you must be a very strong person to have a special needs child. Because I've heard that. I've heard that my entire adult life because I've been a mother my entire adult life. And it's not something that you want to hear. It's not positive. It's not fruitful. It can't help grow me. It can only be deposited into that negative comment section. And the reason why I say that is because we all tend to rise to the challenge when we're presented with something that is difficult or that we did not think we would have to be, that we would have to be a part of. So, most special needs parents didn't think they would be special needs parents. In all honesty, and I'm probably going to step on some toes, but if I'm stepping on toes, then that means there has to be some truth to it because it affected you. In all honesty, most special needs parent, like all other parents, didn't want to be that parent. I mean, think about what people say when they find out that they are expecting. You always hear the phrase, oh, as long as the baby is healthy, then I don't mind if it's a boy or a girl. Well, what if the baby isn't healthy? You're going to mind. I mean, it will affect you. It takes you on a totally different path. There's this story about how someone wanted to go to, and I know I'm getting the countries wrong, but someone wanted to go to France, and instead of France, they ended up in Germany or somewhere. You still took that trip, but it looked very different. It smelled different. It tasted different. It was a whole different journey, right? So I had Maria when I was 19 and a freshman in college. And I could not have been more stereotypical. I was a Black young lady, a teenager, a single parent, and I was completely embarrassed, totally embarrassed. Here I was, and I remember someone from back home saying, oh, well, you just went to college and got pregnant. You could have stayed at home and done that. And it stuck with me years later because it was such a profound statement. And I had a lot of embarrassment with that. So, being the parent of a special needs child, it's a lot. You go through stages of grief over typical milestones. You go through anger. You go through hurt. Some might feel resentment. Some might feel shame. Some might feel embarrassment. Now, mind you, I'm not speaking for all special needs parents. I'm not even speaking for the majority or half of special needs parents. I am on the more extreme end of the spectrum when it comes to special needs children. So how I felt in my journey might be totally opposite what someone else felt. But for the most part, for the people that I have encountered in my life that are special needs parents, they do feel overwhelmed. They do feel discouraged. They do feel hope. They do feel as if the majority of people are not even aware or educated on special needs. And honestly, we internalize a lot of that because before we became special needs parents, we weren't aware either. It was not a part of our life. So there's always that one little part of a special needs parent that is like, they can understand the ignorance, because had it not been for their special baby or their family member, they would not be aware of the need for everything either. All right. So I did not want to be a single mother. I didn't want to be the mother of a special needs child. I remember when I was in the hospital and the social worker gave me information for joining parent groups for support. Now, I want you all to understand that being young and Black and female, you're stereotyped tremendously. So for me, I never joined any of those support groups because none of them looked like me. So please let that be awareness for those that don't know how much representation matters. I was willing to not get help, not get resources, because in my culture, we're less likely to tell our business. We tend to be more private. We tend to be more secretive about our family business. That's just how we are as a culture. So I didn't join any of those groups. I didn't feel like I could trust or believe that people would want to help someone like me. And I know that may sound sad, but I am being completely honest in this video. So I suffered in silence for a lot of years. I mean, I would call my sister crying a lot, because she would listen. But other than that, I didn't think that there was anyone out there that would understand how I felt or what I was going through, which is the biggest reason why I'm putting these videos out there. I want someone out there to know that they're not the only one. Somebody out there needs to know my name. But yes, I went through all of that. I went through embarrassment. I went through shame. It took me some years to settle into the fact that Maria was not going to just up and start walking and talking one day and we would lead a typical life. I was in denial for a long time because, again, I did not want to be that parent. I felt like it would derail the rest of my life as far as getting married, having a family, paranoia over ever having another special needs child, holding down a job, because as a single parent, you can't just up and leave your job anytime you want and expect to keep it. So honestly, that's how I ended up in education. I never chose education. Education chose me. And when I was younger, when me and my siblings were younger, we used to always play school, and I was always the teacher or the principal. So no one was surprised when I got into education. It was just something that was always going to be my calling. And then as I got older, I realized that Maria was always going to be my calling as well. So I have learned to embrace both callings and combine them into one. So I became an educator. I actually started out as a substitute teacher. And from a substitute teacher, I became a paraprofessional. A paraprofessional is like a teacher's aide or a teacher's assistant for classrooms of special needs children. Now, throughout my career, I have only worked with Maria's population on the preschool level. And when I say her population, I'm talking about those that are in a wheelchair, that are non-ambulatory, those that cannot walk and talk. So I have taught that population, but it was on the preschool level. When I was a paraprofessional, it was in a middle school. So these were students that had learning disabilities or behavioral disabilities. It wasn't on the scale of Maria where you need any type of walking assistance or medication or tube feeding, none of that. So it's just typical children who have extended needs in learning. So from a paraprofessional, I became a special education teacher. And from a special education teacher, I went on to teach general education. I taught fifth grade elementary school. So that's the only time that I have taught general ed. All the rest of my years have been in some form of special education. And now at the school, I do all the paperwork for those IEP meetings. So I have seen a lot of different positions in the public school setting. So that's how I became an educator. That's how I was able to combine my service for the special needs community and education into one. And so not only do I do it for my career, but I do it at home as well with Maria. I wanted to say this to special needs parents. A lot of times in our support groups, we talk about our stresses and our worries and our concerns, not only about our children's lives, but for the lives of ourselves and our families. And it dawned on me that a lot of us are thinking about this the wrong way. What I mean by that is, I want everyone to think about how your children grew you, how they helped to open your heart, how they helped with vulnerability because you could fall in love with your child. They were completely innocent and you know that they weren't going to hurt you and that you could love them unconditionally because they're a piece of you. Children grow you. If typical children grow you that much, think about how much more a child with special needs grows your heart and your mind and your servitude. So I want us to get out of the thought process of it being harder, because in all actuality, it's a blessing. It is a blessing to have that much growth, have that much potential for growth because you were chosen. It was always going to be me. There is a reason why I speak like this. There is a reason why everything that happened. It was always going to be me. And so instead of running away from that, I have chosen to embrace it. And like I said, my goal is to help someone out there that thinks that they're going through it by themselves and doesn't necessarily believe that things will ever get better. I am here to tell you they will get better and you are not by yourself. And so I do encourage everyone to reach out to someone and not to hold everything inside, because it is hard being a special needs parent in that it increases your responsibilities, but it also increases your blessings. And so I think that's what we need to focus on most. So for all my typical people, when you run across a special needs family, extend extra kindness. I think that we should all practice being the change that we want to see. So I appreciate your time today. Thank you for listening, and I hope you have a wonderful evening.